Welcome, beautiful souls. This is She Who Rose, and I'm your guide, Amanda. Listen, if you're here right now, it's not an accident. You're here because something in you is waking up. And in this episode, I'm pulling back the curtain on the tools, the practices, and the downright shocking moments that have fueled my healing journey and sparked my spiritual awakening. We're talking cold plunges that jolted me back into my body, breathwork sessions that cracked me wide open, and the simple daily habits that changed everything. So buckle up, because what I'm about to share isn't just inspiration, it's a roadmap. And if it helped me, it can absolutely help you too. Before we drop into the journey I'm about to guide you through, I want to give you a moment to understand what this episode really is and what it isn't. This chapter of She Who Rose is not just a conversation about cold plunges, breathwork, movement meditation, or nervous system healing. It's a chapter about rebirth, about remembering yourself, about rebuilding after life hands you a moment that changes everything. This episode is an invitation to the tools that helped me rise after trauma, tools that held me when my world broke open, tools that shaped my spiritual awakening, tools that walked me back home to my body when it felt like a foreign place to live in. I'm sharing all of it today: the clinical support, the grounding practices, the somatic rituals, the daily choices, the mindset rewiring, the nature medicine, and the moments that soften me into the woman I am now. My intention is not to give you a checklist or a blueprint. My intention is to give you possibility, to show you what's available when you begin honoring healing as something sacred, something layered, something worth tending to slowly. So as you listen, notice what resonates. Notice what your body responds to. Notice what feels like a gentle nudge from your intuition. You don't have to use every tool. You don't have to do everything at once. Just let something land, let something spark, let something soften. Because somewhere in this episode, there is a tool, a truth, a sentence, a moment that will meet you exactly where you are. All right, beautiful soul. Before we begin, take a breath with me. Not the breath you think you should take, not the perfect spiritual inhale, just the breath your body can offer you right now. Inhale gently, hold, and exhale. Today's episode is a sacred one because it's honest. After being strangled, after coming back into a world that looked the same but no longer felt safe in my body, after trauma lived in me like a memory that wouldn't fade. This episode isn't just about what healed me. It's about what might support you, what might meet you exactly where you are now, what might become the beginning of your own sacred return. Let's take one more breath and we'll begin. The first step was giving myself permission to get help. In the months after my near-death experience, it didn't start with spiritual tools. It didn't start with meditation. It didn't start with journaling or breathwork or nature. It started with something much more human. Help. I mean, like real help. Grounded help, clinical, science-backed, life-saving help. Because in the aftermath of almost dying, something happened that I didn't expect. I had panic attacks almost every single day for months. Sometimes once, sometimes multiple times a day, each one feeling like the moment I had almost died was happening all over again. My chest would clamp and squeeze, my breath would disappear, my vision would blur, my ears would start ringing, and my whole body would start screaming, danger, 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 even though nothing was happening. I still thought I was dying. I've literally felt stuck in my own mental hell, reliving that same pain over and over again. If you've ever experienced a panic attack in your life, you know exactly what I am talking about, and you know that you are not alone. There are so many people that I've met in my short journey during this lifetime that have also experienced panic attacks. I think more people have had them than people that haven't had them. So just keep that in mind. Even though I was dealing with my own mental health every day, I was still working full-time as a physical therapist assistant. I was helping people heal, guiding them through their pain, teaching them how to breathe, how to move, how to trust their bodies again. All while I was quietly falling apart. I would have panic attacks in the bathroom between patients, cry in my car before walking into the clinic, then wipe my face, inhale deeply, and show up for someone else's healing even when mine felt impossible. And eventually, I reached my breaking point. And therapy was the first tool I reached for because my mind was no longer a safe place for me to be. And I didn't have family or friends that I could really reach out to, that I felt safe to go to them and talk with them about these feelings, these emotions, these panic attacks that I had been experiencing. I didn't really have anybody that was a safe space, and it was too much to burden my boyfriend with at the time, even though he was very helpful, very soothing, very therapeutic in the ways that he could be. I still knew that I needed something outside of our relationship to help me heal. So I found a therapist and I started going to talk therapy twice a week. And honestly, it started to help a little bit, but honestly, it wasn't enough in those early months back in 2019. Because my nervous system was still in shock and my body had forgotten how to feel safe. And so I saw a psychiatrist and started taking prescribed medications. I started taking medications for anxiety and depression to help stop the incessant panic attacks that I was facing. I knew these medications were not forever. They were not a new identity, but for me, they acted as a necessary bridge back to myself. And I want you to hear this part clearly. In the beginning, I did use these medications to numb myself. Not to avoid healing, but because my system was drowning and I needed a moment to breathe. I used to think by numbing I was avoiding the pain, avoiding the healing. But now I realize 5 years later that sometimes numbing is the body stabilizing itself. Sometimes numbing is the nervous system saying, I cannot feel all of this at once. Medication didn't heal me, but it quieted the static long enough for me to begin healing. And beginnings matter. After I stabilized enough to think, I came off my medications. And coming off of them, I still felt significant anxiety, but began understanding what my triggers were and actively avoiding them. I would tell people I was anxious and nervous. Ruminating thoughts would run through my head. What if he finds me? What if he knows where I am? What if he knows where I moved to? People kept telling me, just meditate, just calm your mind, just relax. And if you have ever been told that in your life, you know exactly how it feels to hear that when you're not in a space where you even know how to relax. It felt like I was being attacked and I had no way to even know how to relax or calm my mind or just meditate. Like, what does that even mean? And I think for most people, when I bring up meditation now, they're like, what do you mean meditate? How am I supposed to quiet my mind? Well, that comes through practice, because calming my mind felt impossible too. My thoughts were so loud and my nervous system was screaming. But the silence was also loud too. Deep down, I knew that I had chosen this path, the hard path of healing, because I know I deserved more. I deserved a life I loved and to have my spirit back, to have my joy back, my happiness. But every time I closed my eyes, my chest tightened, my stomach flipped, my mind spiraled into memories that I didn't want to revisit. I thought I was failing at healing. I thought I needed to go back on the medications, and I almost did. But I wasn't failing. I just needed a different doorway. So I created structure, a container, a place where meditation felt a little less threatening. I found this little oasis in Stamford, Connecticut, where each sauna room was a sanctuary to heal a certain chakra. and it was exactly what I needed. I would go to the sauna after work 4 times a week and force myself to listen to 10 minutes of guided meditations on YouTube. Literally just 10 minutes. And 10 minutes where my body was already still because of the heat. 10 minutes where the environment helped me instead of fighting me. And to be honest, those first 10 minutes in there felt like 10 hours. I don't think a single thought was quieted in my head, but I kept going. I realized to let my thoughts come and go, to not dwell on them, that they're allowed to pass through. But the present moment of peace was my own, not that of my thoughts. Eventually, as my time visiting the sanctuary went on, my thoughts started to come and go. And 10 became 12, then 15, then 20. And the minutes I was able to start building up slowly but surely. And eventually my mind softened. My breath began to deepen, and my body began trusting the stillness again. I started getting into a little routine. I had my sauna bag with toiletries, a change of comfy clothes, my water bottle with some electrolytes in it for afterwards. I would have the sauna room for 60 minutes. I spent the first 10 minutes getting undressed, putting on my comfy robe, drinking some extra water, trying to really become present to the beautiful moment, to the little lights in the room and the calming music. I would then sit in the sauna anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes and then use the rest of the time to shower. It was my own little sanctuary for that 60 minutes. The shower after the sauna was so soothing. I would turn the temperature as hot as I could tolerate, tell myself out loud everything that I was letting go of, and would visualize it washing down the drain. And then I would tell myself what I wanted to call in and what I was welcoming into my life. And most times it was just peace or love. And I would turn it down as cold as I possibly could bear and sit there for 1 to 3 minutes. Boy, that was so invigorating. It was like a reset for my nervous system. Some of the biggest lessons I've learned from meditation are that your thoughts are not you. Meditation teaches you to watch your thoughts instead of becoming them. You learn that your thoughts are temporary, your thoughts are not facts, your thoughts don't require a reaction, and your thoughts don't define your identity. This single realization changed my entire inner world, and I know it will change yours too. It also taught me that stillness doesn't mean silence. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind. So many people think that it's about just taking your thoughts out of your brain and dumping them somewhere else, but that's not the case. It's about learning to coexist with what's inside your head. Stillness is just a relationship. It's not an achievement. It's not something outside of you. It also taught me that your nervous system is trainable. Over time, meditation literally reshapes your internal capacity. You breathe differently, you react differently, you recover faster, you handle discomfort with more softness. You learn you're not stuck with the regulation patterns trauma has left behind. It taught me that discomfort is not danger. At first, stillness feels so uncomfortable because your body is used to being on alert. It's used to that fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system response. And meditation teaches you to sit with the restlessness, the anxiety, the boredom, the emotional discomfort without escaping it. And this is life-changing, especially if you're a survivor of trauma like myself. Learning the practice of meditation will bring you back to your body and help you heal in ways that you can't even imagine. It also has taught me that you can observe without controlling. Meditation teaches you to let things be, to let them pass, to let them soften on their own. It's the opposite of forcing. It's the opposite of fixing. It's the opposite of performing. It's surrendering. I think so often in our healing journeys, we try to really control the outcomes. Oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to feel X, Y, and Z. Well, no, you first need to surrender, let things come and go, give yourself that sacred space Give yourself that time to practice meditation and surrender to it, to observe without controlling. It also taught me that you have an inner space that you never knew existed. Meditation reveals the internal spaciousness beneath your mind's noise. You begin to feel a gap. It's a pause, a softness between stimulus and response. And this spaciousness becomes your freedom. It taught me that you don't need to feel spiritual for meditation to work. When I started my own meditation journey, I would not consider myself spiritual. Yes, I had gone through a near-death experience. Yes, that is a spiritual consciousness experience. But at that point in my life, I would not have considered myself spiritual. And I started to practice meditating. Most people think meditation is about transcendence, but in reality, it's about presence. Some days it feels sacred, some days it feels boring, some days it honestly feels pointless. But it's the consistency that shapes you, even when the moment feels ordinary. It's the consistency of doing it day in and day out until practice becomes routine. It also taught me that emotions move if you let them. Meditation teaches you that emotions are energy waves. They rise, peak, soften, and pass. You stop gripping them, you stop fearing them. You learn to let them move through you like water returning to the shore. It taught me that you can trust yourself again. Meditation helped me rebuild the relationship between myself and my body. I began to trust my breath again, my intuition, my boundaries, my own inner knowing. And that trust truly becomes the foundation for your healing. It also taught me that awareness is healing. Meditation doesn't fix your life, it changes the way you perceive your life, and that changes everything. When you become aware of yourself, you stop abandoning yourself, and that is the deepest healing of all. And I want you to remember that you don't have to master meditation to receive what it offers. You don't have to be perfectly calm. You don't have to clear your mind. You don't have to do it right. You just have to show up one breath at a time, and your inner world reshapes itself. One moment of presence and something inside you shifts. Meditation isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you've always been. One of the biggest truths about trauma is this: the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. What I learned without having the words for it at the time was this: the body keeps score. Trauma doesn't just live in memories. It lives in muscles, joints, breath, posture, reflexes, and instinct. It lives in the places where you tighten without noticing, in the way your shoulders rise when someone walks behind you, in the way your jaw clenches when you're overwhelmed, in the way your breath disappears when you're scared. My body had stored everything I went through. The freeze, the terror, the helplessness, the moments where survival was the only instinct left. I didn't have a language for any of that, but my body did. So I had to teach it something new. For me, that teaching came through running, strength training, and cold plunges. Running was the first thing that made me feel alive again. Not fast, not far, just enough movement to release energy trapped in my muscles for years. Even the smallest, slowest, messiest attempts was the first time I realized just how much had been trapped in me. Trauma isn't only emotional, it's physical. It builds pressure inside the body, like shaking a soda bottle over and over again and expecting it to stay still. Running gave my body a way to finally release some of that pressure. And here's the lesson that changed everything. Movement is not about fitness. Movement is not about discipline. Movement's not about fixing anything. Movement is how the body completes what the trauma interprets. I'll say that again. Movement is how the body completes what trauma interprets. Running taught me that the body doesn't heal through thinking. It heals through doing. Through breath, through rhythm, through motion that reminds the nervous system I'm not frozen anymore. I am safe to move. I am safe in my body again. That's why running made me feel alive again. Not because it strengthened my legs, but because it freed a part of me that had been held hostage inside my body for far too long. And then came the gym, a bodybuilding routine. Weights that grounded me, reps that made me feel powerful in a body that once felt powerless. Every rep honestly felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. What the gym taught me was that strength isn't just physical, it's remembering that you are capable after life convinced you that you weren't. Trauma makes the body feel powerless. It makes you feel small, fragile, breakable. It convinces you that your body betrayed you or that you weren't strong enough to protect you. But picking up weights slowly, imperfectly started to rewrite that story. Every rep was a conversation with my body. I'm still here. We're building. You are stronger than you remember. I am choosing you now. And here's the real lesson. Lifting isn't about the weight. It's about the identity it rebuilds. I'll say that one more time. Lifting isn't about the weight. It's about the identity it rebuilds. The gym wasn't where I became strong. It was where I stopped seeing myself as weak. The structure of the routines, the anchoring of my feet up to the floor, the rhythm of inhale, brace, lift, all of that grounded me in a body that once felt foreign and unsafe. And with every rep, something shifted. I wasn't the girl who barely survived anymore. I wasn't the girl who froze. I wasn't the girl who doubted her strength. Each rep was a reclamation, a small act of sovereignty, a declaration that trauma did not get to be the final author of my story. The weights didn't just strengthen my muscles, they rebuilt the relationship I had with my own power. And that changed everything. And then the cold plunges. Cold plunges taught me how to breathe through discomfort instead of panic. How to stay present in intensity instead of dissociating. How to choose calm when everything in my body wanted to run. I didn't start with ice baths. I started with cold showers, 30 seconds, then 45, then a minute. Cold plunges taught me that discomfort is not danger. Cold plunges taught me that my discomfort is not danger. My husband and I decided a couple years back to not close our pool right away. And this is when I was just really getting into doing cold plunges. I was like, all right, let's keep it open as long as we can. I will try to go in the pool for at least 5 minutes every day in the cold, freezing cold water. And I did go there. I had a winter hat on and I would sink down so that my shoulders were covered in the water, and my husband would set the timer and watch me while I was sitting in the pool. And at first I would giggle a little bit because I thought it was so funny that he found enjoyment of me freezing in the water. But then eventually over time I realized to ignore him and to really just focus inwards and get into a meditative state and focus on my breath so that I could push through and get through this cold plunge. And in doing so, it taught me that trauma leaves the nervous system on high alert. It's always ready to run, freeze, or shut down. When I first stepped into the cold water, my body screamed every time. The loudest it could. Get out. This is unbearable. This is freezing. Why are you doing this to yourself? This is a terrible decision. We could just be in a nice warm house under a bunch of blankets. Why are you in this cold ass pool right now? And that panic honestly felt kind of familiar. It was almost the same panic my trauma had trained me to feel for years. But through the cold, I learned something profound. That your breath is power. When I focused on my inhale and exhale, I realized that I could control my response to intensity even when my body was feeling out of control. I learned that presence is also a choice. The cold forced me to stay in the moment, and I couldn't escape with thoughts or distractions. I had to be fully present. I had to meet this sensation fully. And in that meeting, I regained trust in myself. It taught me small steps to build resilience. I didn't just jump straight into minutes of ice cold water. I started with cold showers, 30 seconds, then 45, then a minute. Incremental exposure taught my body that I could handle it more than it thought. Trauma had told me you can't survive intensity, and cold exposure said, yes, you can. It also taught me that calm is a practice, not a given. The water didn't change. Yeah, it went down a few degrees, but nothing significant. I was the one that was changing. With each cold plunge, I discovered that calm isn't something that just happens. It's something I can actively choose even when fear is loud. Cold plunges weren't about toughness or showing off. They're about reconnecting with my body's intelligence, learning that I could face intensity without losing myself, and that discomfort is simply a doorway to growth. In essence, the cold taught me to be brave, present, and fully embodied again. These tools didn't just strengthen my body, they rewired it over time. Your body does not need perfection. It needs participation. It needs ways home to itself. With running, lifting, and cold plunges, I began to reclaim my body, not just as a vessel that carries me through life, but as a home I could trust again. Each movement, each breath, each moment of discomfort became a teacher, showing me that my body could feel safe, powerful, and alive once more. And once I started listening to it, honoring it, and moving with intention, I realized that healing didn't stop at exercise. It extended to every choice I made, how I ate, how I rested, how I nurtured myself each day, and that's when I began to explore the daily practices that would support not just my body, but my whole being. Once I found my way back into my body, I began noticing how much the rest of my life could support or sabotage my healing. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, like a woman gently reorganizing her life from the inside out. I started to drink more water, eating more whole foods, walking outside every day, even if it was just for 5 minutes, choosing sleep over chaos, choosing nourishment over numbing, choosing rituals that supported my nervous system instead of overstimulating it. I also began looking closely at everything that touched my body and my environment. My cleaning products in my house, food, cooking utensils, toiletries, makeup, menstrual products, and asked, how can I minimize toxins here? I replaced, simplified, and chose what felt cleaner, safer, and more aligned with healing. Holistic living isn't about looking a certain way. It isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's cumulative. It's the micro choices that matter. Glass by glass, meal by meal, walk by walk, boundary by boundary, and product by product. Over time, this deep curiosity and dedication to daily choices led me to take the next step. In 2023, I earned my holistic lifestyle certification, formalizing the practices that had already quietly rebuilt me, giving me the tools to help others do the same. These small, consistent choices weren't dramatic, but they reminded me that healing is not a single moment, it's a way of living, one deliberate, gentle step at a time. It's something I can actively choose even when the fear is loud. Cold plunges were about reconnecting with my body's intelligence, learning that I could face intensity without losing myself, and that discomfort is simply a doorway to growth. In essence, the cold taught me to be brave, present, and embodied again. All of these tools didn't just strengthen my body, they helped me rewire it. They helped me rewire and regulate my nervous system back into its parasympathetic home base. They taught me that your body doesn't need perfection, it needs constant participation. No matter what tool you are using to heal, consistency is key. Your body just needs a way home to itself. With running, lifting, cold plunges, I truly began to reclaim my body, not just as a vessel that carries me through life, but as a home I could trust again. Each movement, each breath, each moment of discomfort became a teacher to me, showing me that my body could feel safe, powerful, and alive once more. And once I started listening to it, honoring it, and moving with intention, I realized that healing didn't stop at exercise. It extended into every choice I made, how I ate, how I rested, how I nurtured myself each day. That's when I began to explore the daily practices that would support not just my body, but my whole being. Once I found my way back into my body, I began noticing how much the rest of my life could support or sabotage my healing. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly. Like a woman gently reorganizing her life from the inside out. I started drinking more water, eating more whole foods, walking outside every morning, even if it was just for 5 minutes. Making sure to stand barefoot in the grass every day. To choose sleep over chaos, to choose nourishment over numbing, and to choose rituals that supported my nervous system instead of overstimulating it. I also began looking really closely at everything that touched my body and my environment. Between the cleaning products, food, cooking tools and utensils, toiletries, makeup, menstrual products, I looked at literally everything that I owned, even my clothes, and asked myself, how can I minimize toxins here? I replaced and simplified and chose what felt cleaner, safer, and more aligned with healing. But it wasn't easy. There's definitely a lot of things that I was able to transition over and find good products for. But there are still some things, I would say at least 20% of my life in all of the above is not clean. I always look at life from like the 80-20 rule because I feel like you can apply it to any aspect in your life. Whether you're trying to eat clean or work out more, or if you're doing good, if you're doing your goal at least 80% of the time and that 20% of the time you're not, you're in the clear. Percentage-wise, statistic-wise, like those are good numbers to be working with. If you're consistently able to get 80% of nourishing foods, mentally nourishing items over choosing to numb it out, whether that's through alcohol or drugs or what have you. If you're 80% of the time nourishing yourself and then 20% of the time not, that 80% is a lot more significant than you think, because everybody always strives to get 100%. But let's be realistic. Our lives aren't perfect. We're never going to get that 100%. So there's nothing wrong with settling for a solid B when you are making these holistic lifestyle choices. And I just want to add in that like these holistic lifestyle choices aren't about looking a certain way. That is not about doing everything perfectly, because like I said, life's not perfect. You are not going to get perfect results, but as long as you are doing better than you were before, that's all that matters. And to keep going with that momentum, because it's cumulative. And it's also the micro choices that matter the most, because if you make a bunch of these little changes, little decisions, they're going to impact you in big ways down the line. Choose glass Tupperware over plastic Tupperware for your lunches or meals, or look for the Dirty Dozen organic fruits and vegetables and choosing to make those the ones that you buy organic, because you know that they are known vegetables and fruits that have the most amount of pesticides on them, that you know that you can, if you can't afford to buy all organic food items, which I'm not sure who can in this world because it's all very, very expensive, but if you can at least choose some of the Dirty Dozen veggies and fruits as organic versus regular, that's a big shift, because you know those are the ones that have the most pesticides on them. Over time, this deep curiosity and dedication to daily choices led me to take the next step. In 2023, I earned my holistic lifestyle certification, which formalized the practices that had already quietly rebuilt me and giving me the tools to help others to do the same. These small, consistent choices weren't dramatic, but they reminded me that healing's not a single moment, it's a way of living. One deliberate, gentle step at a time. Even as my body began to feel like home again, my mind was still loud. Trauma leaves its fingerprints on your thoughts, replaying memories, fears, what ifs, and worst case scenarios in a constant loop. For months, I felt trapped inside my own head, and nothing I did, not meditation, not movement, not holistic rituals, seemed to quiet it fully. So I started small. I mean, like really small. I covered my spaces with sticky notes. Everywhere I looked, mirrors, the fridge, the bathroom, the bedroom door, car, my workspace, I stuck sticky notes with affirmations written on them. And let me tell you, these affirmations felt impossible at first. I was writing them down with like a best case scenario in my mind, even though feeling that that was never gonna exist. Some of the affirmations that felt impossible to me at first were, I am safe, I deserve peace, healing is happening even when I can't feel it, I am allowed to rest, I am worthy of a beautiful life, I am truly, deeply loved. Even though I didn't believe them, my brain began absorbing the repetition of them. The walls of my environment were literally reshaping the walls of my mind. I also began to look for people who had already walked the path that I was on. Guides who had faced trauma, rebuilt their lives, shared their wisdom, and for me that person was Louise Hay. Her books, including You Can Heal Your Life and Meditations to Heal Your Life, became anchors. She reminded me that our thoughts shape our reality, that self-love isn't optional, and that forgiveness of ourselves and others is a radical act of freedom. Reading her words, I realized that change was truly possible and that my mind could be retrained towards compassion, trust, and peace. Reading her words, I realized that change was possible and that my mind could be retrained towards compassion, trust, and peace. I also leaned on practical tools designed to help trauma survivors retrain their thinking. Workbooks for ruminating thoughts and CPTSD helped me understand why my mind looped endlessly and how to interrupt those spirals before they swallowed me. Self-love workbooks helped me to build a relationship with myself after years of self-abandonment. These tools were not glamorous, and honestly, they didn't feel like they were going to help change me at first. But let me tell you how powerful they were. They literally rewired my neural pathways and created new spaces for safety, trust, and self-compassion. And the lesson from it became quite clear, that you don't have to fight your mind into submission. You can guide it gently, repeatedly, with patience and structure until it begins to listen. So I want to ask you, what thought do you want to stop living inside? And what thought do you want to replace it with? Because healing your mind isn't about eliminating all the noise that's in it. It's about creating a new home for your thoughts. One that reflects who you're becoming and not just who you were and who you have been. Before I ever understood spirituality, before I truly opened my heart to God, before I knew how to listen to intuition or the gentle language of the soul, something began tugging at me. It was a pull, a whisper, a nudge that felt like it came from somewhere deeper than thought. And for weeks, I kept feeling called, unmistakably called, to go to Salt Lake City, Utah for a women's event I had found online. I didn't know why. I didn't know anybody attending. I didn't even fully know what the event included. I just knew that I had to go. The pull wouldn't stop. It felt like something or someone was guiding me. And so I booked the flight. I didn't realize it then, but this was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. The beginning of learning what it feels like when God or your intuition or your deeper self begins leading you somewhere that your mind can't yet understand. The event included a holotropic breathwork journey, and I had no idea how deeply it would meet me. As the breathing began, something ancient inside me unlocked. My body remembered what my mind had tried to outrun. It took me back viscerally, immediately, to the moment I was being strangled and suffocated. My throat tightened, my jaw locked, and my chest seized. The pressure in my head built like it did that night, heavy and crushing, and the darkness started to creep in. My body trembled and shook, my limbs involuntarily contracting the same way they had been when I was fighting for air. I could feel his hands again. It was not a memory, it was a somatic flashback, a physical reliving of what I had never had the chance to fully process. But this time, something was different. Instead of dying, instead of dissociating, instead of going numb, I felt love. I felt hands, gentle, grounding hands holding the back of my head and holding my heart. And I heard the softest whisper, "You are safe here. You are safe now." I felt peace and I felt broke. Completely, beautifully, necessarily. Tears poured out of me like waves. It felt like years of survival were finally being released. Years of holding my breath was finally exhaling. My body wasn't reliving the trauma, it was completing it. Letting out the shock, the terror, the frozen energy that had been trapped in every cell. Breathwork didn't re-traumatize me, it freed me. It gave my body a voice. It allowed the suppressed to become expressed. It connected me with a God I didn't yet know how to pray to, but who had clearly been holding me all along. It was the first time I understood that healing isn't just mental. It's physical, it's cellular, it's spiritual. Breathwork became one of the most powerful tools in my healing because it taught me that the body remembers so it can finally release. And if you're carrying something heavy, something unspoken, something your mind feels too afraid to revisit, guided breathway can offer a doorway into your release. Your breath is not just breath. It's a bridge, a healer, a truth teller, a lifeline that brings you back to yourself, gently, safely, and sacredly. There were days when it felt like nothing helped. Days where my chest felt like it might cave in, my stomach churned, and my mind was slippery and unsettled. And every thought seemed to spiral into panic. And on those days, I used to walk down to the ocean by my apartment and sit by the waves. The walk itself started to become a ritual, my feet crunching over the gravel to get there, the salty breeze brushing my cheeks, and the horizon stretching endlessly ahead of me. Even if I didn't know how to feel, even if my body felt heavy with fear, the movement forward was medicine. Sometimes I walked slowly, listening to the rhythm of my breath, and often I sat on the rocks once I would get there and just stare out into the horizon, hoping that the waves would carry away something that I was too tired to release myself. And often I cried. I don't mean just like soft little tears. I mean like deep, aching, uncontrollable cries that felt like water leaving a wound that I didn't know I had. Nature never asked me to be strong. It never demanded I perform or fix myself. It simply held me. It didn't judge my fear, my anger, or my grief. It accepted me as I was, fractured, trembling, and real. If you don't have the ocean nearby, look for what you do have. A tree whose branches stretch towards the sky, grass soft under your bare feet, a river or a creek that moves and flows, the first light of sunrise spilling over your street, a quiet path you can walk and breathe, a patch of sky to stare into, a backyard or balcony where the wind can touch your face. Nature regulates the nervous system in ways that science hasn't fully explained, but our bodies have always recognized it. It slows down your pulse, it softens your chest, it invites breath in where there was tension, and it reminds you gently that you're part of something much, much bigger. And the earth itself can carry weight you are not ready to hold alone. And so I let the earth be part of my healing. I let the wind soften me, the water carry something I couldn't release, the rocks ground me, and the horizon remind me that I belong here. Over time, those walks became more than just coping. They became a dialogue with life itself, a sacred conversation in which I learned to listen, to let go, and to simply be. The truth about healing is it wasn't just one tool, it was all of them. After years of walking this path, I've learned something profound, that no single tool healed me. The combination did, the devotion did, the returning to myself again and again did. Therapy helped me understand Medication helped me stabilize. Meditation helped me listen. Running helped me release. Strength training helped me reclaim my power. Cold plunges helped me regulate. Holistic living helped me rebuild. Affirmations helped me rewire. Workbooks helped me process. Returning to my breath was sacred. Nature helped me to feel. Healing happened because I kept showing up, especially on the days that I didn't want to. And believe me, there were so many days that I did not want to. But I want you to keep going. If you are in the process of healing from what you should never have had to gone through in this little life of yours, keep going. Healing is not linear. It's not glamorous. It's not always spiritual. It's not always immediate. And it truly is just 1,000 tiny choices that seem insignificant at the time that end up saving your life. I want you to know too that your healing will look different from mine. It should and it must. Your soul needs to choose what works best for you. So instead of trying to do everything, start with one thing. One tool, one practice, one shift. Healing begins with one, and one becomes two, and two becomes four. Four becomes a new way of living. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You are building yourself layer by layer, tool by tool, day by day. As we close today, I want to honor your devotion. Healing is brave. Healing is courageous. Healing is holy. Healing is messy. It is slow, but it is sacred. And most of all, healing is possible. There is a future version of you who is so proud that you did not give up now. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for allowing me to share my tools, my truth, and my becoming. Until next time, honor your breath, honor your body, your nervous system, and the quiet transformation happening within you. This is She Who Rose, and the journey continues. Thank you for listening to this episode of She Who Rose. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone you love, and subscribe so you don't miss our weekly conversations about healing, embodiment, and divine awakening. Until next time, beautiful soul, walk gently, walk with love, and walk the way. Bye.